Tomlin Sherry, and this is Chocolate Avenue Baking Company. And today, I'm going to show you how to make my signature springtime celebration cake. Now, this is an organic lemon chiffon layer cake with blueberries, French vanilla buttercream, and white chocolate glaze. And if you try this recipe out, I can promise you, you're going to have a hard time putting your fork down. Let's go do this. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do for this outstanding cake recipe is we're going to make our lemon chiffon cake layers. Now, as with any cake, the first step that you always should do is make sure that you flour and butter your cake pans. I'm using two 8-inch cake layers for this recipe, so there you go. So make sure you get those prepared first. They'll save you a lot of time later. And then the next thing that you always should do is just get organized. So the first thing you should do before you even watch this video, if you're baking along at home, is scale everything out. Just get everything weighed. So just so I don't forget anything, I'm going to go over the ingredients here. So the first thing we have is obviously this is going to be 8 ounces of sifted organic all-purpose flour. And again, I'm using organics. You don't have to, just how I do it. I believe it's much more healthier for you. We have 11 ounces of granulated organic cane sugar. I have 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder. That's this stuff in the little can. Not baking soda, baking powder. It's important because of the acid in the recipe. It's a lemon chiffon. And then I have a 1/2 teaspoon of fine granulated sea salt. Then for the wet ingredients, I've got 8 egg yolks separated. Reserve the 8 egg whites for the meringue, which we'll be folding into this recipe. I have here, this is a 1/2 cup of coconut oil. For those of you who aren't familiar with coconut oil, I substitute this out for most chiffon cakes have a just a regular vegetable oil, neutral oil. And my opinion is just my opinion about this is, if you want to stay healthy, don't consume those non-organic refined vegetable oils. Just stay away from them. They're very, very bad for you. Not good to consume. This is organic, unrefined coconut oil. It's a very healthy fat, and for those of you who have never used this before in your baking, all you do is you just get the jarred stuff. It comes at room temperature. It's usually, if it's a cold day, it's usually solid. So you have to melt this in the microwave, or you can put it over a double boiler. It's just easier to measure it out in a glass Pyrex and microwave it 30 seconds to a minute or so till it melts out into a clear fat. So I have that. I have about a 1/2 cup of lemon juice mixed with a little bit of water. Maybe there's 2 tablespoons of water in there, and that's just because I juiced 2 lemons for this for a 1/2 cup, and it wasn't quite enough. So you just fill it to the 1/2 cup line with water. So I've got the zest from 2 said lemons. I've got, I already went over that with the egg yolk. I have a full tablespoon of vanilla extract. So I think that's everything. So the first thing we're going to do here is just simply sift these dry ingredients together. This flour was already sifted once, but I'm going to sift it again. It's organic flour, so it's a little more lumpier usually. And we're just going to put in the baking powder, sea salt, sugar in there, since this is a fine cake, I usually like to sift it again. We want a nice aerated, light mixture. For our wet ingredients, we're going to first make something of an emulsion here. I'll put these 8 room temperature egg yolks into a little mixing bowl here. Then I'm going to take the coconut oil that we melted out here a little earlier in the microwave and just kind of stream that in there to combine very well. Almost like we're making mayonnaise. Then I'll combine in this lemon juice. Full tablespoon of vanilla extract, good quality. And the zest of 2 lemons. Just whisk all that together. There's all the wet ingredients. First thing we're going to do here to bring this cake batter together is going to put all of our dry ingredients down into the bottom of a stand mixer bowl. And then just kind of make a little well there in the center with your fingers and put your whisk attachment on. We're just going to put all the wet right in the middle and just bring this together. And as always, you're going to want to scrape down the bowl, make sure everything's incorporated properly. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do here is make our meringue. So what I have here is 8 room temperature egg whites. To that, I'm adding in here a 1 teaspoon of cream of tartar. That's this stuff, in case you've never used it before, but I'm assuming you already know what this is. It's a stabilizer for the egg whites. 1 teaspoon there. And you just want to start to whip this to soft peaks. And then we're going to add a little bit of sugar and whip it to a very stiff peaks for this batter. What I have here is 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, and it should start to appear nice and glossy. So now you can see this is pretty stiff and dry, which that's about the stage that you want this for this batter. So this is our cake batter base. Now, some people like to use a balloon whip for this, or I like these spatulas for folding. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to we'll work this in probably in thirds. So for those of you who have not folded a batter before, you're just basically scraping up from the top, folding over. The first stage, you can just kind of lighten it like that, and then as you progress with the batter, you want to be a little more careful not to knock the air out of it that you're creating. And what this is doing is lightening the cake base. This technique is used in a lot of different cakes. So this will be our second. And as you can see, it's starting to lighten this now. And then for our third and final installment of the whites, you do kind of want to work a little quick with this and get this into the oven. Hopefully I reminded you to preheat your oven. If not, you should preheat your oven to 350. So that's about where you want this. It's nice and lightened now. Doesn't matter if there's a few streaks of the meringue in there, it's not going to hurt anything. And then you're just going to want to put this batter into your prepared cake pans, and you can weigh these pans if you want as you're filling. I'm just going to eye it up, but you want to try to get it as even as you can without making a mess like I am. Try to even these layers up. Maybe give it a couple of taps to work out any air pockets. So get these into the oven as soon as you pan them, and we'll come back and see what these look like. So these cake layers took about 30 minutes at 350 in a convection oven. And the best way to cool these chiffon layers is invert the cake pans on a wire screen like that, if you can. That's the best way to so that they keep their shape nice. So we're going to let these cool, on the counter at room temperature, probably at least about an hour or so before we get to the next step. Our cake layers are cooling on the counter and it's smelling like lemony fresh springtime in here. Pretty sure that's a laundry detergent, but anyway, lemon chiffon cake is an old classic, so let's pair it with an equally classic French buttercream. A lot of people complain about making French buttercreams and like the other buttercreams, but really it's a fairly straightforward process. It's pretty easy, so I'm just going to take you through all the steps here, and it's not going to be difficult, trust me. So first, I'm going to go through the ingredients that you're going to need and the quantities for this cake. So first thing you're going to need is 12 ounces of granulated sugar, and just weigh it out. It's the easiest way. Tablespoon of vanilla extract, 6 organic egg yolks, 1 full pound of room temperature Kerrygold unsalted butter. I've sliced these into 1 tablespoon pieces. First step is to just add your 12 ounces of granulated sugar into the bottom of your saucepan, and forgot about the half cup of water. You want to, just to get this started, you want to put a half cup of water in there. Brush down the sides just to stop any possible crystallization in this syrup. So just cook this to 240. I don't know if you can, if the camera's picking up that red line. I'm sure you could probably see it, but it's this will cook very quickly, this quantity. Normally I would do this in a stand mixer, but I'm just going to get this started here in the little mixing bowl. Just slowly drizzling in this sugar syrup, 240 degrees sugar syrup, into your egg yolks. Just start with the egg yolks, and then once I get all the sugar syrup in here, I'm going to put it in my stand mixer and we'll finish this up. So I've transferred the eggs and this sugar syrup into the stand mixer. Now you want to whip that at high speed until it's cold, and it will lighten in color substantially, almost to like a cream color, and just keep on whipping that until it gets cool, and then we're going to start adding in the butter. Okay, so once it's cool, the mixture has to cool down a lot. You don't want this hot, or it's just going to melt your butter and make a big mess. But once it's cooled down enough to around body temperature, maybe, you can start adding in your butter 1 tablespoon at a time. Just making sure that it's not melting. And you may have to stop the mixer a few times and scrape down, but it'll all come together. And that's really all there is to this. This would be where you would scrape in your vanilla bean, or I'm just going to add some extract here. Okay, so if everything came together correctly, this is what you should end up with. It's velvety smooth. Texture is amazing. And it really is delicious for cakes. I wouldn't try doing cake decorating with French buttercream. Really, that's more for a Swiss or Italian meringue buttercream, but this is perfect for a filling for a cake like we're going to use it. And so yeah, there you go. Pretty simple. Simple and delicious. Alright, our cake layers have cooled, and now it's time to assemble the cake. Now, you guys are going to find out about me as a baker. I am not a cake decorator. I've never been, never will be, really don't even care for it that much. I like things really rustic and simple. That's just kind of my philosophy in baking. So this is going to go together really fast, real easy. That's how most of the cakes that I make are. So what we're going to do here is take these pans off. They've cooled inverted. Remember, we inverted them on a wire screen. And the best way to do any kind of cake decorating is a Lazy Susan or a cake stand like this. Now, if you make 2 cakes a year, don't bother. But if you're making cakes a lot, this is a good thing to have. It'll save you a lot of time and make your results look better. So what we're going to do, we're just going to take this parchment paper off here. These are beautiful. These came out exactly the way I wanted them to. And I'm just going to put that there and pray that these will just kind of come up easy. And you may find that it's stuck a little bit. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to put a little dab of the French buttercream and place that directly onto your cake circle. Now, if you were making a bigger cake, this is just these are 8-inch rounds. You could split the layers. Another option also is you could brush this with a simple syrup infused with lemon if you wanted. I think this cake is beautiful just the way it is. It's really not needed, but you could do that. And now what I'm going to do is put a nice layer here of the French buttercream. I want a nice layer there because we're going to put some organic wild blueberries in this layer. So I'm just going to pile this on here. Just like that, very simple. Take these. Now another thing you could do is you could pipe a ring of buttercream around the outside. That would help hold your blueberries better. I'm just going to put them in here evenly like this. Just a nice even layer of these blueberries. And I think for this, this is just 1 pint of blueberries, which is perfect for a small cake like this. So you just kind of want to press them down so they stay in place. Yeah, 1 pint worked out perfectly for that. And then we'll put this other layer right on top. Simply like that. Just plop it right down. And now this is going to get a glaze, a white chocolate glaze, as I said, on top. So it's really not necessary to frost the bejesus out of this. I'm just going to put really a light frosting. So you're not even going to need all of this. This is just basically going to be a crumb coat on here. I'm not going to frost this overly. I don't want this overly frosted. It'll get too sweet. So you just want a nice even layer on top and a thin layer on the sides. All right, it is time to give this cake the final glaze. And what I have here is a chocolate glaze, white chocolate. And do yourself a favor, make sure this glaze is cooler and not hot enough to melt this buttercream. Okay, I'm going to have the description and how you make this down in the description box. So I gave our lemon chiffon cake with French buttercream, blueberries, and white chocolate glaze about 10-15 minutes in the refrigerator just to set it up. And now all I need is a dinner fork and a plate. I could even just not even use the plate because I can't wait to eat some of this. I did decide to just put the white chocolate glaze on top, lest this cake be relegated to the too sweet variety, which I don't want. So just for an elegant little touch on top, it's not absolutely essential, but if you decide that you want to put the chocolate glaze on top, recipes down in the description how to do it. You could also just mask this cake entirely with the French buttercream. It would be beautiful that way. You could pipe borders. There's all kinds of ways that you could finish this off. You could throw more berries on top. Whatever you want to do, knock yourself out. But I am going to try some of this right now. And I'm not even going to bother marking this off. I'm just going to carefully slice into this bad boy. And like I said, I did set this up for a little bit just so it would slice nice and clean. It's probably best to keep this in the refrigerator if you're not going to consume it right off the bat. I'm just going to lift up a slice of this and put this here so we can have a look at it. So I'm just going to bring this over to you, have a look, see what you think. Okay, that's what it came out like. Crumb of the cake. Looks really beautiful and moist. And now I'm going to try some of this delicious looking confection. Oh yeah. Super moist. First thing that hits me is the chiffon cake. The lemon cake is definitely the star of the show. The buttercream and the white chocolate, everything else just kind of plays supporting roles to this. But yeah, this is beautiful. Give this a try. Beautiful cake for really any occasion. Really delicious, not overly sweet at all. The lemon kind of cuts into the sweetness. So anyway, I really hope that you'll give this cake a try at home. I think it's really beautiful. And if you don't mind, if you could just do me a favor and like and subscribe, it would really help me out. So I'll catch you next time. Thanks for joining me.